Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. And for those of you watching us on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to Untold Chronicles and share this deep dive with your friends.
Sounds good.
Today, we're going to be exploring Mount Rushmore.
Ooh.
It's an iconic American monument, but also one shrouded in mystery and controversy.
It is.
You know, most people just see those four presidents carved into the granite, but we're going to go deeper.
Right.
We're going to unearth the hidden stories most tourists never hear.
Yeah, there's so many.
Like a secret chamber, engineering marvels. We got to talk about the Lakota perspective, and even the sculptor's controversial past.
It's true.
It's more than just big faces on a rock.
Way more.
So are you ready to get started?
Absolutely. Let's dive in.
Okay, you had me at secret chamber.
Of course you did.
What's the deal with this hidden space inside Mount Rushmore?
Well, it's called the Hall of Records,
Ooh.
and it was the brainchild of Gutzon Borglum, the sculptor of Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
He envisioned this grand hall tucked away behind Lincoln's face, filled with historical documents, artifacts.
So like a time capsule.
Exactly, a time capsule for future generations, meant to preserve the story of America as he saw it.
So is it filled with like top secret documents and ancient artifacts?
Well, that's where it gets even more interesting.
Okay.
The Hall of Records was never fully completed.
What?
Yeah, there were several factors that contributed to that, including Borglum's death in 1941.
Oh,
So for decades, it just sat there, unfinished, inaccessible.
wow.
But in 1998, they installed a titanium vault inside.
Okay.
And this vault contains porcelain panels inscribed with things like the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution,
Wow.
and some information about the monument's construction.
Okay.
But it's not open to the public.
Really?
Nope. Which only adds to the intrigue, don't you think?
Absolutely.
It's a little hidden chapter in the Mount Rushmore story.
Speaking of stories, the scale of this project is just, I don't even know, mind-boggling.
It is pretty incredible.
How did they even carve those giant heads into a mountain?
Well, it was a monumental feat of engineering and artistry.
Yeah.
You have to think about it, working with granite, which is notoriously hard.
Oh, yeah.
Especially the granite of the Black Hills, dealing with natural fissures and the sheer scale of the project.
Right.
Over 90% of the mountain was actually sculpted using dynamite.
Dynamite.
Yeah.
Seriously. That seems, I don't know, so risky.
It was a calculated risk.
I guess so.
They would use these meticulously planned, controlled blasts to remove large chunks of granite,
Right.
and then skilled artisans would refine the shapes with pneumatic hammers, chisels.
Right.
That's how they created those incredibly detailed faces we see today.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's a testament to human ingenuity, I would say.
Definitely the power of vision.
And a whole lot of dynamite.
But we can't talk about Mount Rushmore without acknowledging the, complex history surrounding it.
Oh, absolutely not.
I mean, this monument stands on land sacred to the Lakota Sioux.
That's right.
It's a very serious sign to this story. So can you kind of tell us more about that history and, the Lakota perspective?
Yeah, so the Black Hills hold deep spiritual and cultural significance for the Lakota people.
All right.
They were actually guaranteed this land in the 1868 Treaty of Fort Laramie.
Okay.
But, surprise, surprise, that treaty was broken when gold was discovered in the area.
Oh, wow.
This is a recurring theme, isn't it?
Sadly, yes.
So for many Native Americans, Mount Rushmore is a symbol of broken promises and displacement.
Right. It's like a very visual reminder
It is.
of that broken treaty.
Exactly.
So how do the Lakota people view Mount Rushmore today?
It's a complex issue, and there's no easy answer.
Right.
For many Lakota, it's a stark reminder of the loss of their sacred land
Yeah,
and the ongoing struggle for recognition and justice.
I can see that.
Their perspective is often overlooked in the traditional narrative surrounding the monument,
Right.
which tends to focus on the achievements of the presidents depicted.
It's interesting how even these, iconic symbols
Yeah.
can have very different meanings for different people,
They can.
depending on their history and experiences.
It really highlights whose stories are told
Yeah,
and how history is remembered or not.
absolutely.
It challenges us to think critically about those narratives that we inherit,
Right.
to seek out multiple perspectives. And in this case,
Mhm.
understanding the Lakota perspective is crucial
For sure.
to fully comprehending the complex legacy of Mount Rushmore.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we have this grand monument
Yeah.
carved into a mountain considered sacred by the Lakota.
Yeah.
And at the center of it all, we have these four presidents.
Four very famous faces.
Their selection wasn't random, was it?
Oh, definitely not.
Each one represents a specific chapter in American history, right?
You got it.
Okay, so tell me about that.
So Borglum, He carefully selected each president to represent what he saw as key themes in American history.
Okay.
George Washington represents the birth of the nation.
Right, embodying that fight for independence.
Exactly.
Okay.
Then you have Thomas Jefferson,
Okay.
symbolizing westward expansion, particularly with the Louisiana Purchase.
Okay, got it.
Then there's Theodore Roosevelt.
Okay.
He represents development and conservation.
Like building the Panama Canal, establishing national parks, right?
You know it. And
Okay.
finally, Abraham Lincoln.
Whose face gazes out over the Black Hills
Yes, he signifies the preservation of the Union.
during the Civil War.
Yeah, it's almost like Borglum carved a visual timeline of American history onto the mountainside.
It is.
But as we've been discussing, history is rarely straightforward.
It never is.
And Borglum himself was a complex and controversial figure.
Yeah, his personal beliefs add another layer of complexity to Mount Rushmore's story, don't they?
They do, and it's a layer we can't ignore.
So tell me more about that.
Well, Borglum was known to have ties to white supremacist groups.
Really?
And his involvement with the Ku Klux Klan is well documented.
Wow. Okay.
This association casts a long shadow over Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, I can see that.
It raises questions about its intended meaning and how we should interpret it today.
It's a tough question, you know?
It is.
How can a monument celebrating American ideals
Yeah.
be intertwined with the legacy of someone who held such harmful and discriminatory views?
Right. It's a jarring contradiction, for sure.
It is, and I think it speaks to the larger conversation about historical figures and their legacies.
Yeah.
How do we reconcile the good and the bad?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's about acknowledging the complexities of history
right.
and understanding that even those we consider heroes can hold deeply flawed beliefs.
Yeah, it's about, engaging with the past, honestly,
Yes.
and using it as an opportunity for growth and dialogue.
For sure.
It's like Mount Rushmore itself, this imposing symbol of American grandeur built upon land taken from the Lakota people,
Right.
created by a man with ties to white supremacy.
Yeah, it's a microcosm of American history full of contradictions and complexities.
It forces us to confront the good and the bad, the triumphs and the tragedies,
All woven together.
all woven together in a single narrative.
And that's precisely what makes it such a fascinating subject.
It really is.
It's not just about the facts, it's about the questions those facts raise.
Right. It's about grappling with those messy,
Definitely.
often uncomfortable truths of history
Yeah,
and using them to inform our understanding of the present.
absolutely. Well said.
Speaking of the present, let's shift gears a bit and talk about the preservation of this monumental sculpture.
Okay.
I mean, it's exposed to the elements 24/7.
Pieces.
How do they keep those faces from, crumbling away?
Well, it's a constant battle against nature.
I bet.
The granite is constantly being weathered by temperature changes,
Oh, yeah.
wind, precipitation.
Right.
All those fluctuations cause the rock to expand and contract,
Yeah.
leading to cracks and fissures.
Right. I can only imagine the impact of a South Dakota winter on those massive faces.
Oh, yeah. It's a conservationist's nightmare.
So it's like a giant game of whack-a-mole,
Kinda, yeah.
constantly patching up cracks and fighting erosion.
Pretty much.
Wow.
There's a dedicated team that conducts regular inspections, seals any cracks they find,
Like
and
that.
constantly monitors the condition of the sculptures.
Wow. So they're essentially playing a never-ending game of preservation against the forces of nature.
That's a great way to put it.
It's a good reminder that even something as grand and seemingly permanent as Mount Rushmore is ultimately fragile.
It is, and that we have a responsibility to care for and preserve these historical treasures,
Right.
both for ourselves and for future generations.
For sure.
It's a testament to human ingenuity and determination that this monument continues to stand tall.
Yeah.
But it's also a reminder that even the most enduring symbols require our constant attention and care.
Well said.
Thank you.
It's clear that Mount Rushmore is more than just a tourist attraction.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a symbol layered with history, controversy, and meaning.
It inspires awe and contemplation. It prompts us to delve deeper into those narratives we tell ourselves about our past and the values we hold dear.
This has been an incredible deep dive so far,
It has.
but we've only just scratched the surface.
We have so much more to uncover.
Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll delve even deeper into the intricacies of this iconic monument
Yes.
and explore its multifaceted legacy.
It's going to be good.
It is. I can't wait.
Me neither. We were talking about those complexities of Mount Rushmore before the break.
We were.
It really is a lightning rod for controversy.
It is. I mean, how often do you see a monument that inspires both awe and anger?
Right. Sometimes even in the same person.
Exactly.
It speaks to the power of symbols, I guess.
It does.
And the way they can evoke such strong emotions.
Yeah.
You know, Mount Rushmore is like a mirror, reflecting back at us our own values, beliefs,
Right.
and struggles with the past.
Speaking of grappling with the past,
Yeah.
let's circle back to Gutzon Borglum for a moment.
Okay.
You know, we talked about his controversial ties to white supremacy.
We did.
Can we separate the art from the artist in this case?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
It's been debated for decades.
Right.
Some people argue that we can appreciate the artistic achievement of Mount Rushmore
Okay.
while condemning Borglum's personal beliefs.
Right.
They see the monument as a testament to the skill, the vision of the countless workers who brought it to life,
Okay.
rather than a reflection of Borglum's ideology.
So it's like focusing on the collective effort
Exactly.
rather than just the individual.
Precisely.
Okay. Interesting.
But then there are others who argue that it's impossible to disentangle the art from the artist in this case.
Right.
They point to the fact that Borglum's vision was deeply intertwined with his beliefs.
Yeah, about American history and the role of white men in shaping that history.
Exactly.
So for them, Mount Rushmore is kind of inherently tainted
In a way,
by
yeah.
Borglum's prejudices.
It becomes a symbol not only of American grandeur, but also of the exclusionary and often racist narratives that have shaped our understanding of the past.
It's a difficult conversation to have,
It is.
but a very important one.
Absolutely. We can't shy away from the difficult questions.
They can.
In fact, those questions are what make Mount Rushmore such a compelling and thought-provoking sight.
It's true. It's a reminder that history is not static.
It's not?
It's alive, it's breathing, it's something we constantly reinterpret.
Right. We're constantly reevaluating as our understanding of the past evolves.
And, you know, as we grapple with the legacies of figures like Borglum,
Yeah.
we're forced to confront our own biases and assumptions about the past.
That's true.
So how do we move forward?
That's a good question.
How do we reconcile the conflicting narratives and emotions that Mount Rushmore evokes?
Well, I don't think there's a single answer,
Right.
but I think part of the solution lies in embracing the complexity,
Okay.
acknowledging the different perspectives and interpretations that exist.
Okay, I like that.
It's about listening to the voices that have been marginalized and silenced,
Right.
and incorporating those voices into our understanding of history.
It's so true. So much of history is told from a dominant perspective,
Yeah.
often excluding the experiences and perspectives of marginalized groups.
And that's why it's crucial
Yeah.
to actively seek out those missing voices and to challenge the traditional narratives we've inherited.
In this case, that means listening to the Lakota people
Exactly.
and understanding their relationship to the Black Hills.
But yes.
And, you know, we've mentioned the Crazy Horse Memorial,
You have.
which is being carved as a tribute to the Lakota warrior Crazy Horse.
It's an incredible undertaking.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so it's a massive sculpture,
Right.
even larger than Mount Rushmore,
Wow.
and it's still under construction.
It's amazing.
It was initiated by Lakota chief Henry Standing Bear,
Okay.
and he envisioned it as a way to honor Native American heritage,
Okay.
to tell their story on their own terms.
So it's a direct response to Mount Rushmore,
You could say that.
a way of reclaiming the narrative,
Yeah.
asserting Lakota presence in history
Yeah.
in a space that has been taken from them.
It's a powerful statement of resilience and cultural pride.
It is.
And it's a reminder that history is not just about the victors.
Right.
It's about the stories of all those who have shaped our world.
It's also a testament to the enduring power of art,
Oh, absolutely.
to challenge, to inspire, to provoke dialogue.
Both Mount Rushmore and the Crazy Horse Memorial are, in their own ways, monuments to human ambition and creativity.
They are.
But they represent two very different perspectives on history.
Right.
Two different ways of understanding the past.
Right, and our relationship to it.
And that's the beauty of it.
It is.
By engaging with both, we broaden our understanding
Yeah.
and appreciate the complexity of the narrative.
It's like having a multidimensional view of history,
Exactly.
rather than just a flat, one-sided portrayal.
It allows us to see the nuances, the contradictions, the competing perspectives.
Right, all those things that make history so fascinating.
And it challenges us to move beyond simple heroes and villains,
Right.
to see the humanity in all of our historical figures.
Even those we might disagree with.
Exactly.
It's a good reminder that history is rarely black and white,
It's full of gray areas and complexities.
which is what makes it so compelling to study.
I agree.
Speaking of compelling, you know, we were talking about those presidents.
Yeah, those four famous faces.
Their selection for Mount Rushmore, was that a straightforward decision?
Oh, not at all.
Or was there a lot of debate about who should be included?
There was definitely debate.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Borglum had very strong opinions.
I bet he did.
But the final decision involved input from historians, politicians, even President Calvin Coolidge.
Wow.
So it was a very collaborative process.
So how did they narrow it down to these 4?
It's a good question.
What were the criteria for making the cut?
Well, they were chosen to represent what were considered at the time to be key periods and themes in American history. Okay.
Washington represents the founding. Jefferson embodies westward expansion.
Okay.
Roosevelt symbolizes development and conservation. Lincoln signifies the preservation of the Union.
Okay, so it's interesting how those themes reflect a particular view of American history.
They do.
One that emphasizes expansion, progress, and unity.
You got it.
Were there any presidents who were considered but ultimately didn't make the cut?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, like who?
Some of the names that were tossed around included Andrew Jackson,
Okay.
Ulysses S. Grant, even Woodrow Wilson.
Wow, that would have been a very different monument.
You would have.
So what were the reasons for excluding those presidents?
Well, in some cases, it was simply a matter of space.
Okay,
Fair.
right. Borglum's original vision was much grander,
Much grander.
but budgetary constraints.
Yeah.
And the limitations of the mountain itself forced him to scale back his plans.
And the realities of budgets and geology.
Right, but I imagine the selection process also involved some pretty intense debates
Oh, definitely.
about the legacies of these presidents. For sure.
And their suitability for inclusion on such a grand monument.
Absolutely. It wasn't just about historical significance. It was
No.
about crafting a particular narrative about America.
Right.
One that would resonate with the public and stand the test of time.
So the choice of which presidents to include
Yeah,
and which to exclude reflects a certain interpretation of American history,
it does.
one that may not hold up to scrutiny today.
Precisely. And that's what makes Mount Rushmore such a fascinating site.
It is.
It's not just a monument to 4 presidents.
Right.
It's a window into the complexities of American history and the way we construct narratives about our past.
You know, it makes you wonder how future generations will view Mount Rushmore.
It really does.
Will it still hold the same meaning?
Right. Will it be celebrated, criticized, or maybe something in between?
I think it's safe to say that it'll continue to evoke strong emotions
Oh, for sure.
and spark debate for generations to come.
Absolutely. As our understanding of history evolves,
Right, and our values shift.
so too will our interpretations of this iconic monument.
It's a good reminder that history isn't static.
It's not.
It's something that we're constantly reinterpreting and reevaluating.
And monuments like Mount Rushmore become focal points for those conversations,
They do. They act as mirrors.
reflecting our evolving values and beliefs.
And our ongoing struggle to come to terms with the past.
For sure.
Okay, so before we wrap up,
Yeah.
I have kind of a fun hypothetical question for you.
Okay, shoot.
If you could add a 5th president to Mount Rushmore, who would it be and why?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
I know, right?
There are so many deserving candidates.
There are.
But if I had to choose, I think I'd go with Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
FDR. Interesting choice.
He led the country through some of its most challenging times.
He did.
The Great Depression, World War II.
Right, he fundamentally changed the role of government in American life
Exactly.
and left a lasting impact on social and economic policy.
His leadership during those critical periods really helped to shape the nation we know today.
That's true. He was a transformative figure,
He was.
both in terms of domestic policy
Yeah.
and America's role on the world stage.
But wouldn't adding another face make Mount Rushmore even more crowded?
That's true. We might have to get creative with the placement.
Maybe we could carve him on the back of the mountain.
Ooh, I love it. A hidden FDR.
Right.
Only visible from a certain angle.
Adds another layer of intrigue to the monument.
Okay, so if FDR is your pick for a 5th face,
Yeah.
who would you not want to see added?
Ooh, that's a bit easier.
Is it?
I think any president whose legacy is primarily defined by war or conquest,
Okay.
they wouldn't be a good fit for Mount Rushmore.
Right, it should
The
represent...
ideals of democracy, progress, and unity.
Exactly, not military
Yeah.
might.
Or expansion through force.
It's about celebrating the best of America.
The ideals we strive for.
Right, not the more destructive or controversial aspects of our past.
Mount Rushmore should inspire us to create a better future,
Yes.
not just commemorate the past. And certainly not glorify conflict or conquest.
Well said. This has been an incredibly enlightening deep dive.
It has been fun.
I feel like I've learned so much more about Mount Rushmore than just the basic facts.
That's what we aim for. It's not just about what you know.
Right.
but how you think about it.
It's about understanding the nuances,
The
or
controversies.
different perspectives.
All the things that make history so fascinating.
And it's a reminder that history isn't something that just happened in the past.
Definitely not.
It shapes our present and our future in countless ways.
Absolutely.
So for our listeners who are now inspired to learn even more about Mount Rushmore, what would you recommend?
I would encourage everyone to seek out resources from the Lakota people themselves,
Okay.
learn about their history, their culture, their perspective on Mount Rushmore and the Black Hills.
Right.
The Crazy Horse Memorial is a great place to start,
Okay.
both as a symbolic counterpoint to Mount Rushmore
Right.
and as a center for learning about Lakota history and culture.
That's a fantastic suggestion.
Thank you.
It's so important to hear those stories directly from the people who are most impacted by the history we've been discussing.
It is.
It helps us to see the monument and American history itself in a whole new light.
And it reminds us that there are always multiple sides to every story.
Well said. This has been a truly fascinating deep dive into Mount Rushmore.
I agree.
And for those watching us on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to Untold Chronicles
Yes.
and share this deep dive with your friends.
To spread the knowledge.
The more we learn and engage with these complex histories, the better equipped we are to understand the present.
And shape the future.
Exactly. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the heart of Mount Rushmore.
My pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning.